Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. This is your show where we take a fresh look at ourselves and the world around us. It's a very fast-paced show, and it's caller-driven, and we just love that. So we're going to ask you to call in after you hear the topic that we are going to explore together, and we hope you participate. Here's the number, 1-833-288-3986. Jerry, I have been really looking forward to tackling this subject today.
Yeah, I am too. We'll introduce that in a minute. Obviously, like many people, we have heavy hearts today because of the Southwest Airlines fatal incident that took place on that flight over Philadelphia. And it's interesting. We want to certainly offer prayers for the repose of the soul of that woman who died,
Jennifer Reardon.
Yeah, and comfort for her family, and a lot of bravery shown. We just did the show on Have You Ever Saved a Life? And those two other passengers tried so valiantly. And actually, for those who don't know, an engine blew up, and a piece of debris shattered a window, and this woman was sucked partially outside the plane. And these two gentlemen actually managed to pull her back in. Unfortunately, she was already close to death, and the pilot, captain, made an amazing emergency landing in Philadelphia, and the lady unfortunately died a little bit later on at a hospital. So yeah, I'm actually a little unnerved by this, Debbie. It's just got me kind of shaken up a little bit today, because not that I would hesitate to get on a plane in 5 minutes if I had to, but it's just you fly so much, and you just don't hear about these things, and when they happen, they're just really, really unfortunate and tragic. So we ask all the Take Two family to join you and me in praying for this woman and for all those involved. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, and I know, Jerry, and I know there was some reports saying that they're going to be checking all the 737s that are flying right now, but I guess they haven't gotten to all of them yet or something. And yeah, it's very unnerving. I mean, I'm in Cleveland right now. I'm going to be flying back to Arizona on Saturday, and God willing, I'd like to get there safe and sound. So yeah, but you were talking about the bravery of the passengers, and then I understand that the pilot, an incredible female pilot, she just was so very calm under the pressure, and really handled herself so well. And so there was a lot of brave souls that rushed into action and tried to make sure that others weren't harmed as well. But I agree with you, Jerry. One life is too many lost.
Right. Well, so again, thank you for joining us in prayer for that, dear listeners. And as Debbie said, we do have a topic planned for the program today, and that is if you are, or if you know somebody who is married but kind of living like singles. And what we mean is, well, obviously marriage is the most intimate relationship on the planet. That doesn't mean, the husbands and wives have to share every single split second together, have to have all the same interests and hobbies and likes and so forth. But I have actually known couples, Debbie, where the wife will take her vacation and go off and go to this place, and the husband will, a couple months later, go off to some other place on vacation by himself. Not that there's anything going on, but it's just maybe they don't, maybe they don't have.
Maybe they don't prefer the same vacation.
Yeah, maybe they don't have the appreciation for the place the other one wants to go or whatever. But there's other things too, like maybe watching TV in different rooms of the house, maybe eating meals at different times. So this is an interesting phenomenon, and I'd just like to hear if anybody experiences this. And is it because of difficulties in your marriage, or is it just because? Maybe it's because you love each other so much, and you're so comfortable with each other that you just don't need to be in each other's face all the time. I don't know.
Right. No, that's a good point. I'm here in Cleveland at the Rock AM 1260, and we're having this spirit drive, the spring spirit drive, and it's going really well. And a lot of the volunteers asked about our show today, and they said, it's a fascinating topic of what you're discussing, and it's very interesting how you can very easily start to live separate lives but under the same roof, and that is by not praying together, not having meals together, not going to church together and stuff like that, and you start to divide up and do kind of your own thing. And so that was an interesting aspect that they brought to the table, and I think we should explore that as well. So we want to hear from you. We titled the show Spouses Living as Singles. And we're not asking you to out any of your family members or even yourself. Just let's talk about this in a real way, because we all deal with it, or we're exposed to it in some way, especially in this day and age with technology, Jerry. It's very easy to get disconnected with one another, even with friends. I mean, we talked about that in the art of communication. So we want to hear from you. 1-833-288-3986.
Yeah, you mentioned technology and all of that, and then there's also just the pace of life nowadays. If you're two spouses, each of you work, maybe you have different work schedules. Maybe the flip side of this conversation is, how do you make sure that you have time together and nurture that marriage?
Right.
In a relationship where you really have to fight hard to find that time to be together. 833-288-3986. Or again, if you just maybe you're both kind of 8 to 5, and you have kind of the same schedules, and life just goes on, but you find yourselves just being interested in and doing things apart from each other, and that doesn't necessarily have to be unhealthy for a marriage. Sometimes it is the result of
Right.
of strife or discomfort in a marriage. So
I know couples that are inseparable. I mean, on the flip side of that, I have a friend, a couple friend, that they are so adorable. They're starting to look like one another. They're
so
so
that really happens, huh?
They're so adorable. As a matter of fact, when my friend goes and gets her hair cut, he actually goes and he'll wait and watch her get her hair cut, and then they go out to lunch or something like that. It's really quite precious, and so that's very interesting. And you've got those couples that are kind of joined at the hip. I think that's really cool as well. But we want to hear from you. What's your take on this? 1-833-288-3986. That's the number to call. You're going to talk to Matt Gabinski. He's awesome to talk to, and you're going to wait on hold, and you get to listen live. And then you jump right in. So you don't miss anything. You won't have to have that fear of maybe repeating anything of a previous caller, because you're going to be listening live. That's a really cool feature. So we don't want you to sit this out. We want you to call in. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. That number again, it's toll free. It's 833 288-3986. There are other ways you can correspond with me and Debbie on the program. You can text the letters EWTN to 55000 and put in your first name and a comment or a question that you have. There may be a small data rate depending on your phone's plan. You can also email us, take2, the number 2, at EWTN.com. And we are streaming live on Facebook and YouTube, so you can get a hold of us that way as well. But we're talking today about being in a marriage and making it work when you have a very, very different likes and interests and hobbies and things that you appreciate. How do you, is that good? Is that good for your marriage? Does that work out for you in your situation? 833-238,
288.
288.
What is the number?
I feel like I'm at a pledge drive, about to give out the pledge drive phone number.
Yeah, no, it's one. I've done that so many times, by the way. 1-833-288-3986. That's the number to call. So we want to hear from you, Jerry. I have to tell you, I really thought about this a lot. Marty and I, we have like the same likes, and we do the same. We like being together. I mean, it's really kind of interesting. We don't have this really strong desire to go to, happy hour with the guys, or go out, with the girls, or, we just don't, I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. I've never really had that desire my whole life. It's kind of interesting how some people really do need it, though, in order to feel kind of, to recharge their batteries and, come back into the household and, much more, refreshed and stuff when they've had a chance to maybe go out to lunch with girlfriends and just, chit chat and do that. I don't know. What do you feel about that?
Well, as our listeners know, I've never been married, so I can't really address this from an experiential standpoint. But I would think if I were married, at least I'm just the type who I would probably appreciate a little bit of, I guess it's sometimes called me time, and I think that's helpful. I think that's very important that spouses have a time maybe apart, not necessarily out of strife or anything wrong, but just simply to be comfortable enough, I guess is what I'm saying, so that, one person can do this, one can do that. But we're just asking you, our listeners, how do you make it work in your marriage? Are you the type that, like Debbie said, you just really like to be together, you like to hang out together, and you're just that type? Or maybe you went into the marriage and you realize that, you have these differences and you're okay with that.
Yeah, that's true. That's really true. If you went into the marriage knowing that your spouse needed that time or needed that, like you said, me time, Jerry, that's a good point. And what happens if maybe, Jerry, you didn't think that your spouse needed that time, and then after you got married, all of a sudden they said, I think I'm going to go play golf for 6 hours during the weekend. And you're like, wait a minute, I didn't bargain for that. That's a possibility too. Right. Okay, here's the number, 1-833-288-3986. This is your show, Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. And you are the key person in all this. When we come back, we're going right to the phone. So stay with us the entire hour.
We know you like listening to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on EWTN Radio, but have you thought about bringing them to your next event? No matter what type of event you're hosting, parish mission, conference, or retreat, trust Jerry and Debbie to make it come alive. Begin the process today of taking your presentation to the next level of success. For information on booking Jerry and Debbie, visit take2show.com, click on the J&D logo.
Christ is the Answer with Father John Riccardo.
John chapter 8, verse 51. Jesus is in a discussion with some of the leaders of the Jews. They're talking about Abraham. Abraham lived 1,500 years before the time of Jesus. So in the course of the discussion, Jesus says, "Truly, truly, I say to you, if anyone keeps my word, he will never see death." He says that often in the Gospels. "He who keeps my word or believes in me will never die." To which the Jews say, "Now we know you have a demon." And they say, "Abraham died, as did the prophets. All the patriarchs, the great men and women of the history of Israel. All these people died, and you say, if anyone keeps my word, he will never taste death? Are you greater than our father Abraham, who died? And the prophets who died?" And Jesus says, "Your father Abraham rejoiced that he was to see my day. He saw it and was glad." To which the Jews say, "You are not yet 50 years old, and you've seen Abraham?" And Jesus answers, "Truly, truly, I say to you, before Abraham was, I am."
Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on EWTN Radio. Thanks to the show team and to the affiliates and everyone, especially you, the listeners. By the way, EWTN Pro-Life Weekly with Catherine Hadro is Thursday, tonight, 10 p.m. Eastern Time on EWTN TV, and also Sundays at 10 a.m. on both EWTN Television and Radio. And every week, Catherine and a team of pro-life experts shine the light of truth on abortion, euthanasia, assisted suicide, and the culture of death. EWTN Pro-Life Weekly, more than a show, it is a call to action. And Debbie, we have a call to action for husbands and wives right now to join us on the program today.
That's true. I'm glad you mentioned that that's a show that's a call to action. It really is. It's a you really must see the show. It's fabulous. Okay, Jerry, you're right. We need calls to come in so we can have all different takes, all different angles on this topic. We titled it "Spouses Living as Singles." We want to hear your take on this. Do you think it's proper? Do you think that it's healthy? Do you think that it could be problematic? We want to know all different angles. We want to learn and grow. I anyway, Jerry, as you know, I have that curious nature as part of myself, and I take just so many notes. It's like, I'm telling you, if I had to be buried with all these notebooks, I think it'd be weighed down much deeper than 6 feet down. So here you go, folks. This is for you to weigh in on this. We need your wisdom. 1-833-288-3986.
Okay, Debbie said we're going to the calls, and we are. Nick is in Cleveland, where Debbie is, listening on The Rock, having their spring spirit drive. Hi, Nick. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Hi, Jerry and Debbie. How are you guys today?
Great, Nick. How you doing?
Good. I've been on before talking about marriage before, and I believe marriage is I feel very strongly about it, and I hate divorce. And I just wanted to say that as I've grown in my devotion to the church and Jesus, and I've also grown in my marriage, how they've kind of reflected each other. To make it pretty concise, I'll just say that early on in my faith life and in my marriage, things felt more like obligations sometimes. And as I grew and mature with both of them, now they no longer feel like obligations, but things that I want to do because I love my wife and I love Jesus and I love the church. And so that's pretty much it in a nutshell. And I find myself more and more wanting to be with my wife and kids above and beyond pretty much all things.
Wow.
And that wasn't always the case. So
Right, right. Well, Nick, you know what to me that is a real spiritual maturity. And that's amazing that you not only acquired that, but now you're at that place where you're appreciating it. And I think that is wonderful. I pray that every young man out there right now that is contemplating marriage hears your call and your experience of how your marriage, the view of your marriage has changed. And that's a real sacramental view. And I loved everything you had to say. I pray that other men, grow into that spiritual maturity. We all need to. And that's the thing, is that we all think that when we get to be an adult age, we should know everything. But yet in our spiritual life, we're constantly developing. We're constantly learning. That's why I tell folks when they're in their 70s, please don't stop going adult formation. You can always learn something. So I love your call. What do you think, Jerry?
Yeah, well, I love the part, Nick, where you said you've grown closer to Jesus as your marriage has gone along, and you've grown closer to your wife as well. And we all know the saying, or most of us do, from by Fulton Sheen. And I think he wrote a book called 3 to Get Married. And yeah, if you have Jesus at the center of it and are developing that relationship, then we know that the marriage is a sacrament, and the grace of God is going to be active in that sacrament. And if Jesus is, the more Jesus is present, the more that love between husband and wife is going to grow. I have a question for you, Nick. When you obviously, every married couple has to be apart to do. One goes to work, one goes to the store, you do different things. Do you have? I know you carry your wife in your heart, as most, I'm sure, all spouses do. But do you have sort of a longing? Even if you're apart for an hour, it's just kind of like this is urge, this longing in your heart. See, I just really can't wait to get back to her.
Absolutely. And actually, funny you mentioned that, because here in the past couple of years, some things have changed in our lives, and now I work in another city, and my shifts are long shifts, and that whole thing about distance makes the heart grow fonder, and that's so true. And but I don't think it's just the distance that's making my heart grow fonder. I've just grown to love her more than I ever have. I've told her many times, I love you more now than I have or ever have in our whole relationship. And it's just because of the work of Jesus Christ and all that's true. I can't take any credit for it for a second. But yeah, I do miss them tremendously, my wife and kids, when I'm at work.
Beautiful. Nick, if you know what, here's the thing. You can always keep this particular broadcast, and you can always use it anytime you wanted with your wife. So if she's ever angry at you for, whatever, leaving the refrigerator door open or something, you just let her hear this, and I'm sure it'll all melt away, and she'll just love you forever. This is great, Nick. What you have to say is huge. There's a lot of souls right now thinking about their relationships and what they should do, and some are even contemplating leaving their relationships. But when they hear stories like yours, it gives them hope. It gives them reason to hang in there and to hang on to what God put two people together to journey together. And I think that's huge, Nick. I love your call. I could listen to it all day long. May I quickly just say this real quickly, Nick? Sorry I'm hogging the mic, Jerry, but Nick, so you're in Cleveland, Ohio, where I'm at right now, and did you see that beautiful snowfall that we had this morning, which was absolutely powdery, beautiful snow coming down? I was all excited to go run out and do snow angels, and it all melted away. Did you notice that, Nick?
I actually missed it. I was driving home from Columbus this morning. So
okay. Well, it was a missed
I'm
opportunity.
right around the corner right now from the studio where you guys are at, I think.
Oh wow! Well, drop by and say hi to everybody.
I would love to. Yeah.
Yeah, please do. I would love to meet you. That's awesome. Wow, isn't it small world? See that, Jerry?
Yeah.
Yep.
Thanks, Nick.
Thank you, guys. Have a great day, and I hope the Spirit Drive goes good.
Yeah, yeah. You be
Thank
safe as
you.
you're driving to and from work as well. We appreciate you listening and calling the program. Just as a side note, Debbie, if Nick or
Yes.
anybody does stop by The Rock or
Hmm.
any of the Catholic radio stations that have pledge drives, they can be assured there's always something tasty to eat, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. The
Too
food is
much, right?
amazing. Oh yeah. Oh, that's why we call it the Pledge Drive 5, Jerry, because we always gain 5 pounds every day.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, no, I love it. Safe driving, Nick. Thanks again for that great call, and I hope you do stop by to say hi to everybody. It's a lot of excitement when there's pledge drives happening because everybody's excited about Catholic radio, Jerry, and it's a good thing. I just wanted to give the number again because we're talking. We had a great call from Nick in Cleveland, Ohio, and we want to hear from you about what you feel about this as spouses living as singles, or do you, like Nick, you've grown to absolutely appreciate the sacrament of matrimony, and you really long to be with your spouse, and you want to continue that on as many moments as you can on this earth, and that's exciting. 833-288-3986. That's the number to call.
All right, next is Jackie in West Virginia on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Hi, Jackie. Thanks for holding and welcome. How are you?
Cold,
With Jerry and Debbie. Hi.
cold, but okay.
Hi, Jackie.
Hi.
How are you?
Extremely cold in the mountains.
Oh, it is. I'll bet. Yeah. Well,
Wow.
hope that it warms up for you soon. So, what are your thoughts on this conversation?
I think it's a misnomer when you say married living as singles.
Right.
My husband and I have been married forever. We're just extremely different. He's the type who is always involved in groups. I'm the type that is more introspective. I just learned a long time ago he likes to go fishing. I don't. I like museums, colleges, art. He does not. So
Right.
he will be with me, but you can tell that it's like a horse stamping in the stall ready to go.
Right.
Right.
Well, yeah, and I'm the one who came up with the idea for this topic, Jackie. So I'll admit that, and even the title, married but living as singles, and I think what we were trying to convey, hopefully, maybe I didn't convey it well enough, is I think what you're talking about, and we wanted to make this point. A lot of certainly married couples, I would think it'd be unhealthy if a couple had every single tiny little iota of interest together and were never apart and never wanted to be out of each other's presence and so forth, didn't have different hobbies and fishing, golf, or reading. My sister was a voracious reader. I mean, she'd just go off into a room and she'd have 2 or 3 novels going at the same time. But I think what we're kind of talking about here is really when a marriage gets to a point where about the only thing a couple will do together is maybe go to bed at night together, and then the rest of the day they're just sort of kind of not ignoring each other, but just really doing their own thing and not cultivating that marital love, that sacramental love. Did I get that right, Debbie, or was I close?
Yeah, you got it. I think that was perfectly stated. The other thing too is we were trying to tap into because we know couples that sometimes the only time they really interact, Jackie, is when they're arguing over something like money, the kids, something like that, and that can be really destructive as well. What do you think about that? Does that kind of shape up where we were coming from?
Yeah, I mean, as far as my husband and I, and really in the area in which we reside, it is common practice that the husbands go off with other husbands to fish or hunt or whatever, and the wives are counting the days on the calendar. When will they pack up and go? Because it's like a week of hunting is, hallelujah, they're gone. I can clean the house. I can eat a TV dinner. I can watch my show, and I can go to bed. There's no one to, quote, take care of.
Right,
Oh,
right.
okay. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. West Virginia is very time warp. Especially certain portions of West Virginia is very time warped. I mean, you want the 1800s, early 1900s, you need to be in the middle of West Virginia.
Interesting.
Yeah. So how is that all working for you, Jackie? So it seems like it's, I mean, you said you've been married forever. It seems like it's working really well.
Well, when you learn to ride the waves of life instead of bashing yourself against them, it's a lot more enjoyable. When we were first married, I did fight it. You know, when you first are married, you have all these ideologies. Mm-hmm. Once you realize that ideologies are good in books, but not in reality, it gets a lot easier when you just give someone, you know, room to be who they are instead of some kind of list you're ticking off.
Right. Right.
Yeah, and the beautiful thing about that is you said you kind of count the days, the wives count the days till the husbands are going to go hunting, and then I'm sure you're counting the days before they come home as well. And it's just a matter of, like you said, you know, reality and real life, and accepting each other's, you know, interests and hobbies, and giving them that freedom, you know, not stifling a husband or a wife. I think that's very important as well. It's certainly an aspect of this conversation that we're having on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Jackie, bless you. Thank you for listening and for calling from West Virginia. 833-288-EWTN. We're going to get to Sharon and Tom and Pat and the others. We hope that you are enjoying this conversation.
Do you Roku? Roku is a small black box that allows you to instantly stream EWTN to your TV. All you need is a high-speed internet connection, a TV, and the Roku player. For more, visit EWTN.com/Roku.
Hi, I'm Doug Keck, and this is an EWTN bookmark brief. I just finished talking with Father Joseph Roche, a friend of ours from the Marians of Immaculate Conception, and the book is Fatima, A Pilgrimage with Mary, published by our friends at Marian Press. Tell us, Father Joe, give us an overview of what this book's about.
Well, it's a beautiful picture book, what we call a coffee table book, with some beautiful pictures of the shrine of Our Lady of Fatima, and it tells the story of the apparitions of Our Lady that took place 100 years ago. It tells us about the situation in the world today. And Our Lady is really in this book taking us on a pilgrimage, helping us to meet her son Jesus, helping us to recognize that the heart of the world is Jesus and the Eucharist, and that if we open our hearts to him, we can do our part to change the world.
The book is Fatima, A Pilgrimage with Mary by the Marian Press, available through the EWTN Religious Catalog. EWTNRC.com is a place you can find it. This has been a Bookmark Brief. Thanks for stopping by.
Lauren Ashburn.
I've always been pro-life, but have never been able to talk about it in the news. And now, not only do I share it internally, but I share it with a global audience.
The leading Catholic voices are on EWTN Radio.
EWTN, teaching the truth.
I love your show. I was raised in a Southern Baptist environment, in and out of church since I was a teenager. But since listening to your show the last several months, I'm in the process of converting to Catholicism.
Ever since I started listening, I've been learning a lot, and I've been very intrigued by some of the things you guys discuss. I want to learn more, and I have a thirst for learning.
EWTN. Live truth. Live Catholic.
I'm Brian Patrick.
And I'm Gloria Purvis. Tomorrow, Father Robert Fath of Alaska.
And Dominican Father Jordan Schmidt is our godly counsel for Morning Glory on EWTN Radio.
Now back to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
We're so glad you're with us on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. I'm Debbie Georgiani along with Jerry Usher, and phone lines are completely lit up. That means you have something to say about this topic. Spouses living as singles. Okay, back to the phones we shall go. Sharon, driving through Ohio. Better be careful, Sharon. There's some snow coming down. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Thank you.
Hi, Sharon.
Hi, Sharon.
Hi. How are you?
Good, good. How are you doing today? Be safe out there.
Yeah, it's good. I'm driving from Michigan to Maryland at the moment, somewhere in Ohio.
Okay. What do you think about this conversation we're having here?
Well, it's interesting. I've been in a Christian marriage for 32 years. We just graduated our last of 3 children from university this last year, so we're new at empty nesting. My husband and I both travel extensively for our jobs, and at this season of our life, we spend quite a bit of time apart. Earlier in our life, we spent a lot of time together, and I think the conversations are interesting. I think we have to have the grace to understand that although we're still married, you're individuals. I know when my kids were little, there were days that I just needed 10 minutes away from everyone to recenter my head and remember who I was. And I think that we need to have the grace to allow our spouses to re-energize either on their own or with us. Now that we're in this phase of our life and traveling so much, we don't see each other sometimes for a whole week. But we've been very intentional about saying the time we have together, we are intentionally making that a quality time. And we're having probably the best season of our life. We're making those times together very intentional. So I don't think there's one option. I think the point of being apart or together is to be intentional when you're together.
I love your take, Sharon. Absolutely. And it's funny you talked about the season of your life right now, and this is really, I think, there are so many dynamics that play into this discussion that we're having here today, and this is one of them. Like, your life is very, very different. As you said, when you have little kids, you just yearn for that 10 minutes of me time, just to, Calgon, take me away for a few minutes, and those are so few and far between. And then, obviously, when the kids are out of the house and grown and gone, things can change a whole lot. Debbie, I think we might have done a show on
empty
people's
nesting.
experience being empty nesters, but I just love what Sharon is saying about the intentionality of this.
I
if you
picked
have
up on
it,
all that too.
Yeah, if you're working at it and it's an intentional effort, then that love and that bond is going to remain, whether you're together or you have to be apart at certain times, I think, anyway.
Right. I agree with everything Jerry said in response to your story, Sharon, and you have a 32-year commitment in a Christian marriage. I mean, you definitely are taking each stage of it in a beautiful way with, like you said, with the intention of spending time together, and this is the season that you are now in, and you're having a great time being empty nesters. I tell you, it's a beautiful testimony. I think that should be heard by many couples, those that are just starting out and those that are becoming empty nesters, because some people have to try to identify who they are all over again when they go through these seasons. But it sounds like you and your husband are really focused together. Did we get that right?
Well, you have to work. Yeah, you have to work at it. It hasn't been all roses, but you have to say this is a decision we've made, and at each season of our life, we're going to try to be intentional. And I think that's the core of our Christian walk too. It doesn't just happen. You have to be intentional about it.
Sure.
Right.
And constantly growing, constantly learning, letting God's grace play into your beautiful marriage. Absolutely. Wow. That's a great take on that.
Yeah, and the ability to adapt too, I think, is important because, like we've talked about, things change as people stay married and kids, grown and gone, and circumstances and all kinds of jobs change. All these things change. So, adaptability is very, very important while maintaining that intentionality for loving one's spouse. Thank you, Sharon, and be safe. Please be safe driving. We appreciate you listening and calling Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. And I think she made a reference of people to, and you did too, Debbie. There are, young people listening who are discerning marriage and maybe just getting started in marriage.
That's right.
And we got an email from Perla. Perla says, I'm very interested in this segment. My husband and I were married 2 weeks ago. Perla, congratulations.
Yes.
She says, we just got back from our honeymoon, Debbie, in Italy, where we were blessed to be able to meet and have our marriage blessed by Pope Francis. And Perla says, I'm hoping to hear the good and the bad that people have experienced and how they're able to balance their time together and apart. Love your show. Thanks, Perla. Well,
wow.
This show's for you among
Yes.
many other people, Perla, for sure. Thanks for emailing.
Yeah, and congratulations. Beautiful. Okay, Pat in Western South
We got Tom first.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, please forgive me. I'm using only one computer today. Normally I have two I'm using,
That's
but
all
I'm
right.
traveling.
Hang in there, Pat. You'll be right after Tom.
Yes, hold on, Pat. We'll give you the Virtual Patience Award. Tom in Columbia, South Carolina, listening on Catholic Radio in South Carolina. Hi, Tom. Welcome to Take Two.
Hey, how are y'all?
Good, Tom.
Great.
How's it going there today?
Well, I'll tell you, my heart really goes out to you because I hear you telling these stories about snowing and driving safe on the roads, and I'm sitting here with the windows open and blue skies, and it's 78 degrees. So.
Praise God for that.
Nice.
I got to tell you, I've been on both sides of this coin. I was in a horrible situation that, glory to God, it has since been annulled and is far in the rearview mirror. But she was of a mindset that every single thing we did, we had to do together. And it even got to the point where when I was at a stage when I was very successful in my career, she was infuriated because she would be like, well, what am I supposed to do? You're doing that. What do I do? And, I think that a lot of the previous callers, especially Sharon, she really hit it on the head, which is, there's a center of tension here, which is, we do come to the marriage as individuals, and that's important. But at the same time, you don't want to swing to the other side and find yourselves in a situation where, you have no separate interests and you don't do anything separate because, if every single minute of every single day you're bound at the hip, engaged in the exact same thing, I personally would think that it would be tough to have some intriguing conversations. And, my wife and I are the kind of couple, we're the couple you meet and people think, how on earth did these folks get together? We are so different. She loves playing volleyball. I love playing video games. I love talking about philosophy. That is not her thing. And in a beautiful way, God uses our differences to contribute to this one body. And something else that Sharon said that I think is just brilliant is that, our marriage is ultimately a reflection of the relationship that Jesus Christ has with us and with his church. And, it's so easy to find ourselves in the busyness of life, going through the motions and getting caught up and, putting our relationship with the Lord to the back burner, but we really have to be intentional. And I think a huge part of it in marriage and in our relationship with God is that we have to constantly look at our hearts. If we want to go do X, we want to go play golf or we want to go fishing, that's fine. But we really have to guard our hearts in the presence of God and make sure that it's not, I want to get away, I need some time away from my spouse. And I think that if we keep Christ at the center and we are intentional, as Sharon said, that there's a lot of blessings for us.
Well, and let me just share something, Tom, because you were echoing what Sharon had said, but you also were tailing off of what Nick was saying as well about this idea of really understanding the sacrament of marriage and what it means and how to really respect one another and to come together and know when to, give and take and to understand. And also Jackie was saying it in West Virginia, the more you start to understand what the other person needs, you can start to work with that in cooperation, and that takes a level of maturity. And I think sometimes the young folks enter into marriage and they don't realize that it is a growing, learning encounter as well. You just don't go into marriage and go, "Whew, I made it. I'm in marriage now. I don't have to worry about dating anymore." Right, Tom?
Yeah, amen.
Yeah.
But, I think that one thing that's so beautiful is that the grace of the sacrament is there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that God is going to be faithful every single time, that if we seek his face, and we pray for wisdom, that he's going to open our eyes and he's going to show us. And really, I think we can all agree that the very best design for any marriage is God's design. And what's beautiful about God's plan is that, just like he manifests himself in different people in different ways. I mean, we're not automatons. We're not robots. I mean, we see a unique manifestation of Jesus Christ in every single person. And I think that marriages are that way too, that, you can get a room full of married couples, and if they're putting Christ at the center of their marriage, each and every couple is going to have a different story. And even though the stories are different, it's all going to point back to the cross.
Yeah. Yeah, and the word that comes to my mind as you're talking, Tom, and by the way, you have so much wisdom. Thank you for imparting it to us. The word that comes to my mind is maturity. And kind of a flip side coin word would be like insecurity. I think a husband and a wife have to have that emotional maturity, be comfortable enough with themselves and who they are to be able to not keep their spouse on too short a leash. Let them do those things that they want to do. Obviously, as long as it's not going to be, anything that's immoral or it's going to, be a detriment to the marriage. And I think that, if spouses do have that need to be like in each other's presence at all times, I don't know. The word insecurity comes to my mind. Like, if you can't be apart for a little while, then maybe that needs to be examined. But it sounds like you have just found the way to do it, Tom, and you've shared a lot, and I'm sure all of our listeners are going to benefit from what you shared.
Well, I love you guys.
Love you too,
Aw,
Tom.
We love you too, Tom. Enjoy that beautiful weather in
Yes.
South Carolina.
Absolutely. Thanks for the call.
Yes, thank you. Okay, now we can give the Virtual Patience Award to Pat in Western South Dakota on Real Presence Radio. Pat, you got our Virtual Patience Award.
Great. Yeah, I'll display it proudly.
Okay, good. How you doing?
I am doing fine. How are you today?
Great. We're doing well. Thank you. So what's your take on this? I mean, we've had some really incredible calls and stories.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't buy into the Me Too aspect of anything, and the participation award is, it shouldn't happen. But this is one of those topics that seems like everybody is somewhat right. I think a marriage, a good marriage, is kind of a combination of, you take everything that everybody said today and mix it together, and I think you would come up with a good recipe. There certainly has to be times together. There's mixed activities, and I think it's healthy to have those times when we're somewhat apart. I wouldn't say that like separate vacations, as Jerry mentioned at the onset. I don't think that would necessarily be healthy, but maybe for some it is. But I think all things in moderation would be the answer here, especially to younger couples that are trying to figure these things out. My wife and I have been married 32 great years, and it's just, one of those things where I enjoy my activities. That my wife understands those are relief valves for me to help get rid of some of the stresses of work and life, and she has her relief valves, and generally neither of those involve long trips. They're usually like an afternoon or maybe a day outing, what have you. But it's things that I think a little alone time re-energizes you and makes you appreciate your spouse that much more. And I think being, there too, you have to be around friends that are energizing in actually with the common good or the common goal of keeping their life Christ-centered. And, I know my wife, she likes to go out and have coffee or lunch with her girlfriends, and I think it's great for her. They inspire her. She inspires them, and to the point where she's actually written a couple of women's Bible studies. And that, wow. And when I go out and do hunting or fishing with my friends, I feel good that the day's end, and we know when we come back together that we're a couple and we're both ready to take the next day on.
Yeah. Debbie, you can go if you want. I have a couple things, but I'll let you. Okay.
Yeah, no, I want you to go first. I'm actually taking some notes on this. This is a great call.
Well,
so you go ahead, Jerry.
I want to focus on one comment you said, Pat. You said you think it's great. When your wife wants to do some of these things, you said you think it's great. And I think the beautiful thing is, I talked about that maturity. I want to go back to that for a minute. And, Tom said that his first marriage prior to his annulment, he was married to a woman who was kind of like, when he had successes, she got bothered by that. She always wanted to be, not apart from him and things like this. And I think we all, love, what is love? Love wills the good of the other. And Pat, if you going out and doing something with your buddies or your wife going out and having coffee and lunch with her friends is going to refresh and rejuvenate either of your spirits, make you a better person, make you happier, make you more fulfilled, then that's going to come back into the marriage and make that even stronger. So I think that sense of maturity and willing and wanting the good of the other person, Debbie, is going to really, you're going to really appreciate and want them to have those times when they go off and maybe you're apart, but then you come back together stronger.
Yeah, and I believe there's very much truth to the old sayings that we hear that are used all the time, like absence makes the heart grow fonder and stuff like that. And it's interesting because it does. You tend to, when you made your comments so understandable, Pat, in the sense that when you were saying that you just need to re-energize, because of the stresses at work. And for me anyway, this is my thought on this. Maybe I'm way off, but to help me out here, guys, if I was having really really hard times at work, or the stress was a lot, I would much rather go out to lunch or dinner with one of my girlfriends and just talk and cry and do whatever, and then come back and come back into the marriage with Marty and not bring those stresses into the marriage.
Exactly.
And, yeah.
Yep.
So I see that as very
I,
beneficial.
Well, and I think it's healthy to, as the one caller noted, you go through different phases of life as you're married, and your priorities change, and you have to kind of keep up with that. But you realize that, my wife has tasks that she does around the house. I have tasks that I do around the house. We have mutual tasks that we both work together on. And we appreciate what the other one does. And because you don't do those things for yourself. You do them for your family and those that are with you. And, I think it's just critical that, there's things that you need to discuss with your spouse, and there's things you can talk better with your friends on. And I think it's just finding those balances is kind of the key to a good life and a good marriage.
Right on.
And the other thing is keeping God, of course, at the center. And my wife is very, very good at doing that. And I'm kind of like hanging onto her shirt tails to keep up some days with her faith, but I do my best to stay with her, and we push each other when we need that push.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, Pat, if I recall, you said 32 years of marriage, and one of our other callers did as well. Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you. Marriage has its challenges, its trials, but so much joy and beauty. And we just pray that God will give you and your wife many, many more happy, holy, healthy years together. And we thank you. We really, really appreciate you listening on Real Presence Radio and calling the program.
You're helping each other get to heaven. I think it's wonderful. That's beautiful. Thank you, Pat. Can I just say something really quickly, Jerry? I really want to just highlight the National Catholic Register. I love it. I know you do as well, Jerry. It's EWTN's National Catholic Register is America's most trusted Catholic news source with a comprehensive view of the world from a distinctly Catholic perspective. And here's the coolest part, Jerry. You can try 6 free issues with our compliments. That's EWTN's compliments. If you like it, you can subscribe later at a 35% savings off the newsstand price. I mean, it doesn't get any better than this. So all you got to do to get started is you visit ncregister.com today and get your 6 free issues. I mean, such a deal. What do you think, Jerry?
It is, yeah. I receive it every week, and it is just, it's that and EWTN News Nightly are where I get my news and information for the most part. So very, very good stuff. Okay, Billy is next in Pensacola, Florida, and Billy is listening on our good friends at Guadalupe Radio. Billy, welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Thank you.
Welcome back.
Yeah. I enjoy talking or hearing the lady from West Virginia, since I'm from there too. However, the lady that called in, been married for 2 weeks. She wanted all the help she can get, good, bad, and different. And I can tell you what I preach, and I've been married for 66 years, so I know a little bit about it. I tell kids that are getting married, the day you love your wife, and there's no question about it. But tomorrow's a different story. So what you have to do, every morning you wake up, you look over and you see your wife and say, golly, you are absolutely gorgeous. How in the world did God decide that I could have you? And you do the same thing in the evening. Both of you share these thoughts. And in the daytime, when you come home from work, you say, hey, honey, I'm home. What do you do? Oh, let me come and help you, babe.
Right.
It was that way all the time.
Well, that's a good lesson, Billy. I think that you develop within yourself. You may have that appreciation sort of, implicitly, but then you just sort of intentionally and explicitly just, I think, reinforce that love that you have for your spouse when you actually think those thoughts and vocalize those thoughts, like, wow, you are beautiful, and God, how did you ever bless me with somebody somebody such a great gift as this. So Debbie, I think Billy once again has added greatly to the program.
Oh yeah, Billy, you hit a home run every time you call. We could listen to you forever. The wisdom that comes out of you, we should all be sitting up and learning and paying attention. So thank you, Billy. Thank you for reminding us how to treat one another and especially our spouses. I love it. Thank you. Wow.
Okay, well, you know what? I hate to take calls with just a short amount of time, but I want to get to Gail in Rochester, New York. Gail, listening on the Station of the Cross. Gail, literally, we have 90 seconds, but I wanted to hear your take on this because I can see part of it on my screen. Hi, Gail. Welcome.
Hello, Debbie and Jerry. Thank you so much for taking my call. Sure. I'll try to make it as brief as I can. My husband and I, for 46 years, had an exceptionally close marriage. Yes, we encompass so many of your listeners' ideas. But our happiest times when we were together and we would go for coffee and my husband would say, life doesn't get any better than this. And that was just over a cup of coffee. When he was diagnosed with cancer over 5 years ago, that was the crowning point of our marriage. We had to prepare ourselves and prepare each other for death. And that's where the sacrament of marriage came in. That's where the closeness that we always experienced came in. I stayed in the hospital for 2 months, no accolades to me, but I did it for him because I knew his happiness would be to have me by his side. So I stayed in the hospital and slept in a chair for 2 months so that I could be with him when he passed on. So he is still my strength. He is, being married so young, he gives me strength that I didn't have as such a young girl getting married, but he is always with me. We set our marriage vows just before he died, and we said, death till us never to part. And we're never apart now, and through the Eucharist, we are together all the time, and I just give all the glory to God and for the gift of a sacramental marriage. And
Gail,
everyone.
Debbie keeps a book of deceased as well as living. If you don't mind imparting your husband's first name, we will add him to our prayers.
Oh, yes, my husband's name. Yes, Frank.
Oh, okay. There you go, Deb. Well, I know you'll happily add Frank to your prayer book there.
Yeah, Gail, I can't even speak. I can imagine that many other souls listening right now are showing signs of emotion based on your story. What a beautiful love story. What a beautiful love story. And I hope young couples listen to your story, Gail. You're an amazing woman, and Frank and was very lucky to have you, and I'm sure you're very lucky to have Frank. So that's awesome.
Thank you, Gail. Real quick, apologies to Wojtek and Kathy and the others. We are just simply up against the clock. I did want to read one email that came in, take2@EWTN.com. Maria Teresa said, this topic that we're talking about, married people living as singles. She says, I think this is a disturbing trend that we're seeing, especially among those that are 35 and under. We've noticed it among some of our secular peers, and it is yet another undermining of the family and societal structure. I think I heard Bishop Robert Barron on More to Life with Greg and Lisa Popchak talking about married singles, and it was spot on and so sad. And she says, my husband and I are 35, so we feel that pull from society to be selfish even within our relationship, but we are intentionally trying to fight it with prayer time together, discussion instead of mindless distraction, shared activities, and so forth. Good topic, something to pray about for the future. Thank you, Maria Teresa.
Yeah, that was a great email as well. Boy, I've learned so much today. I hope you did too, dear listeners. If you didn't get to call in, maybe next time, the next topic. Tomorrow we're going to be talking about I can't live without. And we're going to exclude choosing cell phones because we all know we can't possibly live without those, right, Jerry?
Right. But what other accessory or gadget or thing in your life can you not live without? Be thinking about that and call and share your take tomorrow.
Yep. Thanks again to everybody. We love you guys and have a beautiful and blessed day. We'll see you real soon.